last night during a ball game that the White Sox were playing in. Garrett Crochet comes out after striking out his first batter, and here we go. We've been here before. We've seen this drill. It was announced today. Garrett Crochet likely going to need Tommy John surgery. Steve, this comes on the heels of something that you and I have kind of been tracking for a very long time, and that is a dip in Garrett Crochet's velocity that we saw all of last season. You see him come out, throw with some conviction, I would say, in his last outing before this, and then all of a sudden something is not right. I feel like we've known this is coming for a long time. Steve, why don't you elaborate?
I think it all goes back to Game 3 of the 2020 Wild Card Series in Oakland. And I think the plan that was in place there, Crochet coming in relief for Dane Dunning, and when he had to exit that game early with forearm concerns, that's where everybody's mind went to. So this is a process that has been, kind of ongoing since October of 2020. And I think a lot of us, myself and Anthony, you included, felt that this was just a ticking time bomb, unfortunately. And you hate to say that, but just given the history here of guys with forearm issues like this and that dip in velocity, it really did just feel like it was a matter of time, unfortunately. And I think the other thing that's going to be tough for Crochet now is this has to all but put to bed any notion of him ever being a starting pitcher, at least for the White Sox. Maybe if he goes somewhere else down the road, maybe they could revisit this. But at this juncture here, I think it's pretty safe to say that the days of Garrett Crochet possibly being inserted into the rotation are all but dead.
Yeah, I think early on, I think maybe the next couple, he's going to be out, 18 months? I think that's usually what it is. But you're right. This goes back to 2 years ago in the playoffs.
Han did say today 11 to 13, which could potentially put him back on track to be ready at the start of next season. Maybe not April, but towards the front end of next year.
No, I'm with. I think this is. I never looked at him as a starter. I've always looked at him as a bullpen guy. Maybe that's the funky delivery. Maybe that's just the awkwardness of him. But I think in a sense we all saw this coming. Obviously the injury back in the playoffs a couple years ago. But I think if you just look at his motion, he looks like one of those guys like, okay, when's the Tommy John coming? When's it going to happen? And here we are now. To be honest with you, I'm not that upset about it. I think I'm upset from a developmental standpoint. I'm upset. But as far as going into this season, I'm not too – this wasn't a Eloy Jimenez blow. This wasn't a Luis Robert blow. This is a blow that I think the Sox can manage and either fill a hole if and when needed. But come trade deadline, we talked about the money being freed up. If you want to go out and sign somebody off the street, you can go ahead and do that, and you don't have to really worry that much. This isn't a life or death blow like we almost thought last year with a couple of those injuries.
At the end of the day, really, I've always been a big believer in trying to go out there and develop your own relievers versus paying for them in the open market. There's a couple of guys that are of interest on the 40-man roster, a guy like, Anderson Severino or Bennett Souza. So I think the news of Crochet going down stinks just from the standpoint of now you only have one established left-handed reliever in the bullpen. Everyone knows I am the conductor of the Aaron Bummer train. So do they need to, I think, find another option in the bullpen there to be able to address and be able to kind of counteract lineups and teams that are particularly left-hand heavy? Yeah, they do. So this is where guys like Severino or Souza are going to need to step up, and they've got a chance to play themselves onto a roster here. So that's going to be pretty important. But as far as overall concern level, like Sean said, it's not that great of a concern at this moment in time here. Bullpens are volatile from year to year, so they had some ups and downs, especially in the early first half of last season, and then they kind of right the ship towards the second half of the year. So I think that there are probably some guys that could come out of the woodwork here. And I talked about this on Twitter.com earlier today. It'd be awesome if a guy like Kyle Crick, who has high-level stuff, what if he goes out there and what if he has the Cliff Polite 2005 season? You can almost always count on there being one guy.
You love the Cliff Polite season. We just like to put that out there in the
Who
open.
doesn't love Cliff?
But Steve like loves the Cliff Polite season. Everybody loves Cliff Polite, but I think I want to see Steve like rocking the Cliff Polite jersey on the South Side this summer.
Customize that.
Don't threaten me with a good time, because I'll do it. Okay. But the point just stands. I mean, you could have a guy come out of nowhere and have that lights out career year. And, a situation like this with Crochet, that would really help now.
And let's be honest with ourselves. When Garrett Crochet came into a ball game last year, where was your confidence level?
I would say it was probably somewhere near the middle, Sean. I mean, for as many times as I text you guys about like, oh shit, the wheels are about to fall off, like Crochet was still somewhat near the top of like my bullpen options, where I was like, okay, this isn't Jose Ruiz, or this isn't, some just guy that we saw between the back half of 2016 and up to 2020. So even into there.
So it wasn't Juan Minaya?
It wasn't Juan Minaya. The names, man, the names. We could have a whole article on Sportsnet of White Sox relievers that, graced us with their presence through the rebuild. If I don't want to tempt Steve with a good time, there it is. I can see him lighten up with this one. But, Sean, I was fairly confident with Garrett Crochet. Yeah. And I think some of that was how he exploded onto the scene in 2020, throwing 101, 102. Our guy Johnny Nani joked around the other day when I, mentioned how great Garrett Crochet looked, and he's like, "Are you concerned that he's not pumping 105?" Well, absolutely I am, because I was waiting for this to happen. That's why.
Yeah.